Hello, my name is Philip Totaro. I'm the founder and CEO of market research firm IntelStor. Welcome to your weekly dose of truth to power. Truth to Power examines data driven insights for the energy sector with a focus on renewables. On this week's episode, I'm going to discuss the commercial implementation of new solar technology, which will unlock a repowering and efficiency revolution that could double the amount of solar power used on the grid. Solar PV just crossed a major threshold at the end of 2025. They now have more than 2 terawatts of global installed capacity. China comprises almost 50% of that total global installed base. Solar PV is on track to achieve 3 terawatts of operational capacity by 2030 as the world continues on the path towards 100% renewables in the power generation industry by 2050. In late 2021, solar PV achieved a major milestone by beating both natural gas and petroleum on the global average for levelized cost of energy. Since then, prices for solar PV have ticked up, but it hasn't slowed down the capacity additions since the global average capital cost of installing has dropped to $690,000 per megawatt. As we look beyond 2030 and anticipate the next steps for the global solar PV market, it is important to look at it in the context of technological advancements as well as benchmarking against other forms of renewable energy, particularly onshore wind energy. The main technical challenge for solar PV has been the capacity factors that are achievable by the current generation of technologies deployed in the industry, particularly silicon-based technologies. The global average capacity factor of solar PV in 2025 was only 14.87%. That low figure is mainly driven by China, where much of the almost 1 terawatt of capacity they have installed in the country operates at a net capacity factor of between 7 and 10%. In spite of this, the Chinese government's desire to bolster the domestic solar PV industry has 2 intended outcomes. First, they hope to develop economies of scale for the local manufacturers in their domestic market, so they're prepared to deploy their manufacturing capabilities globally. Second, they have installed a significant amount of grid capacity to desert regions of Inner Mongolia, Xinjiang, Gansu, and Qinghai, so they have load capacity and energy storage capacity, which requires deployment of a significant volume of power generation capacity. Therefore, wind and solar PV have seen substantial growth, even if it's come at low efficiency levels. Nevertheless, efficiency improvements in solar cells are being introduced all the time by various research entities and industry focused companies who have invested heavily in developing technologies with more robust performance. The latest approach to improving solar cell efficiency is a perovskite-based cell. That is a calcium titanium oxide mineral, which researchers have been investigating for use in solar cells since the early 2010s. The promise of the technology as a replacement for silicon-based solar cells is immense. It could also be developed as a hybrid technology, combining silicon and perovskite into multi-junction cells to merge the benefits of cost-effective manufacturing as well as the efficiency improvements brought by the perovskites. In fact, the most common and promising approach to overcome the efficiency limit of single-junction silicon-based solar cells is to couple them with high bandgap solar cells in a multi-junction structure. That's why the perovskites are potentially revolutionary technology. In the past 10 years, 2 companies have been the industry champions of perovskite technology development. Oxford PV, a UK-based company, was investigating the technology from 2018 through 2020, seeing efficiencies of 25.5% up to about 29.5% by the time they pulled the plug. China's LONGi has seen efficiencies of between 34 to 35% more recently as they continue to develop 2-terminal monolithic perovskite-based cells. Currently, Triple junction solar cells based on the 3-5 semiconductor materials, the group 3, group 5 semiconductor materials, if you're not familiar, have a record power conversion efficiency of more than 40%. However, these multi-junction solar cells were developed for space applications to power satellites or space stations. The exorbitant production cost of the 3-5 based solar cells makes them largely unsuitable for terrestrial power generation applications. While the industry continues further development along the path of non-perovskite-based technologies, the industry-focused R&D of perovskite-based technologies shows the most promise to dramatically improve efficiency for terrestrial power generation applications. While other companies or research institutions have been investigating the technology as well, they've not publicly reported the results of the R&D efforts or any pilot projects they've undertaken. The results of most research institution-focused perovskite-based projects has not led to efficiency improvements over and above what the industry R&D efforts have achieved. In the meantime, the performance improvement of perovskite versus silicon or other non-perovskite-based cells will be critical when the global solar PV asset repowering trend becomes more prominent. With the bulk of the global solar capacity having been installed in the past 15 years, there will be a time within the next 5 to 10 years when solar PV asset repowering will need to be undertaken. Repowering provides new life to a project while leveraging the existing electrical and mechanical infrastructure. Racks and trackers, as well as the existing cabling and inverters, are already installed at a project site. Other than the panel replacement themselves, project sites would likely require few other upgrades to accommodate the solar panels comprising perovskite-based cells. And that's with an intent to provide a comparable megawatt capacity as well as voltage levels versus the existing installations. Repowering will allow developers and asset operators to upgrade their assets and achieve higher efficiency while lengthening their asset lifespan in a cost-effective manner. Solar asset repowering should cost less than half that of wind energy asset repowering at approximately $175,000 per megawatt for solar versus about $425,000 per megawatt for wind energy. By 2035, global solar PV asset repowering should allow it to overtake onshore wind on capacity factor benchmarking, or at least bring the global average capacity factor of solar PV closer to the range of 25 to 30%. Solar has underperformed on efficiency up until now and basically comprises the lowest efficiency level of any meaningful form of power generation. But the promise of new technology could not only improve capacity factors, it has the potential to unlock a doubling of the amount of solar power generation used by the grid. As perovskite-based cell technology and other techniques are developed, they offer the promise of unleashing a renewable energy revolution, which would be bigger than when the world adopted hydropower for utility power generation almost 2 centuries ago. In the future, we'll look at manufacturing capabilities of perovskite-based cells or hybrid cells, including silicon, so stay tuned for another episode of Truth to Power. In the meantime, thank you for joining me this week. I'm Philip Totaro, and this has been your weekly dose of Truth to Power. Please follow us on IntelStor's YouTube channel as well as your favorite audio platforms. And visit www.intelstor.com to join more than 250,000 subscribers to our renewable energy data solutions. A full analysis of the global renewable energy markets is available to subscribers. And you can register today for the next Wind Summit event in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Just visit www.windsummit.org and join hundreds of your industry colleagues to discuss all the latest trends in O&M. We hope to see you there.